This conference will now be recorded.
It's covered, but it's covered under insurance. The lap is fine.
Come down there, Carlos.
Huh? Move over there?
No, you're fine.
Sure.
Do you have more?
Five.
Is Kevin?
I don't know. I haven't. Council Moore's on. Oh, there you go here next year. Yeah.
I need to be back in. Public safety meetings.
You betcha.
Matthews, please call the roll.
Council Halverson.
Here.
Council Maru. Here. Council Moore.
Here.
Councilor Kevin. Councilor Arnold.
Here.
You have a quorum.
I'll take a motion to approve the meeting. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, first is our regular item, resolution 25XX, adoption of resolution 25XX. The resolution shall require removal or demolition of 4 dilapidated structures. Mr. Franco.
Madam Chair, I have 4 properties to present. The first one is 109 in Summit, 109 and a half in Summit. This property has been vacant for many years. The property next door to it has been causing a lot of problems, so that they're trying to get into this property. We have notified the property owner. I talked to the building official this morning, and she did try to make contact. We called her back, but her voicemail was full. So we're kind of like playing phone tag with her right now, but she is trying to make contact. The second one is 1600 North Union. This property owner also has been in contact with the building official. He told her to clean up the property. The inside of the property is a hoarding house, so it's completely full of stuff, like floor to ceiling. As you can see, the backyard, it looks like that inside.
There's dogs and all those?
She did, and I think I don't know what happened to them. I haven't seen them there anymore. 2311 Chartel, this is on I presented this one about 2 months ago to change the ownerships. We were gonna tear this house down, well, it's a mobile home. We were gonna get rid of it, but they changed ownership, so we gotta start the process all over again. And then the last one is 1703 North Delaware. This one has been one of the problem houses in that area. PD was there the first of the month, and they got us to go inside the house. They're living there without water. There's the house in the back. There's about 6 to 8 people living in there. The property owner is deceased. She moved to California to be with her son. He ended up passing away over there. And we've sent notification, but we still haven't had any response. That's just the question.
Questions? Thank you. Motion? If I may, yes. I don't, Madam Chair, I think that last year, the attorney had made a kind of a suggestion about approaching the state at creating something with strict rules and everything as far as eminent domain to start addressing these dilapidated structures where the people aren't here and haven't responded. And when you mention eminent domain, many people immediately get a little alarmed. But after 3 years, constantly seeing some of these same houses on the public safety agenda and the city council agenda, and having a community where we aren't able to effectively address these situations, and I'm sure it's quite redundant for you, Mr. Franco, and going into these, how do communities and how do municipalities act, address, and attack this issue if we have no ability to actually do anything about it. And I wanted to bring it up just as a point of just not conversation, but just kind of bringing the concept to light, because Mr. Eintema was very innovative in that kind of thinking. It is something you'd have to approach the state for, changing legislation, but I think our municipal league and other entities could actually assist our communities with something like this, because there's calls constantly on neighbors and you know, that do not do anything to fix these. And even if there is assistance, but I just kind of wanted to get that word eminent domain out there, because a lot of people have been afraid, because there were companies that would come in and just take over and take a whole block and then build a high rise. But what Mr. Eintema is talking about actually makes sense as far as just recreating what was there. But anyway.
Is he looking at the city taking over the property?
Basically, yeah, I think it's after a certain amount of years with strict guidelines on the fact that it has to, if it's sold, then it has to have a structure in place. But how many years do you have some of these that go on where you cannot contact the owner because it's passed through, you know, they deceased and then it went to their children, we don't know where they are, and then we have a dilapidated structure that is actually unsafe, that is being broken into, that all of these things, and we can't do anything about it. But that was kind of a concept that I thought actually.
Well, no, I'm
was
all
brilliant.
for the home being demolished. I just don't want more property on the city. We get taxes, or if we do, or we just put liens against them, right? So we would eventually get the taxes. But we,
The problem with liens is that people won't buy a $2,000 or $1,500 worth property with a $10,000 lien on it. It's not logical.
no, I see what you're saying, but what would the city do with the property?
They would sell it for pennies on the dollar.
Or a developer, that'd be fine. too.
Yeah. But
They taught her the program where you can get a developer to the property and they work out a deal, and if they build a house there, then you get your money back
yeah,
and
That's
the
what-
utilities and stuff.
that's what we initiated the first year that we were here. And I haven't heard any update on how that's doing, but that's actually.
There's one contractor that's doing it. He built one house and he's working on another one now.
But we aren't even demolishing these at this point. Because we don't have.
No, we haven't yet. We have 5 out now we're checking them for asbestos, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Then we'll bid them out to see how much it's gonna cost to demo. But the houses that we have right now for the demolition, they're like extremely bad.
Well, that motorhome.
Yeah, those are easy. They can just pull them and strip them, and they won't. Those don't pop that much.
If I may,
Yes.
Mr. Cole, I had read a Facebook post about the gentleman contacting Todd, and other contractors were commenting on the fact that, you know, they had the attitude of, you know, this must be a favor. I don't think people understood that this is a program that's out there. So if there's any way to put a newsletter in the water bill or anything like that, letting people know that these kind of programs are out there, because there were 3 or 4 of them on that Facebook post that were actually interested in doing something like this. I think the city could, it would behoove the city to actually, you know, make public notice of this kind of program that is available, because it is a great program.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Any more discussion, question? Also,
Okay, just this one particular property over in Delaware, that the lady died, water, everything in there, and torn up the whole place up. The reason I know about that is I went to a neighborhood watch program, talked to the neighbors area. It's just ridden with crime,
Mhm.
back and forth all the time. And so, to that being said, I'd ask community development and the city attorney to start looking at a nuisance property. And see if we can't get some teeth in there as well. And some of these, yeah, they need to be torn down. I don't know, Toby, have we torn any down this year at all?
No, like I said, we have stakes that were.
How much money do we have in that line item in the budget?
I couldn't think.
Well, it's a public safety issue.
Yeah.
So we might want to be thinking about, one, when we look at this potential nuisance bill, but also when we prepare the budget, identifying some of these that really need to come down and creating some line item in the budget. I know the firefighters, they don't usually have second job. They should buy some of these houses. Give it Toby and find out the ones that are on the demo list.
Start flipping.
You guys don't train in those houses, do you?
But anyway, I just want to let you know that we're going to look at a nuisance to see if we
No,
can
I'm
put
for
some
that.
heat.
I've had several in my work, yeah.
Albuquerque just passed one, so we can use that as an example. Anyway, thank you. Sure.
Any more? All right, entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for consideration of Resolution 25XX, adoption of Resolution 25XX to require the removal or demolition of 4 dilapidated structures.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is consider recommending approval of 5-year contract with Paladin Drone. Lieutenant Fry.
In October, the Roswell Police Department made a purchase with Paladin Drones, which put 1 dock and 1 drone on the roof of the police department building. There's some additional services that Paladin provides, including getting all the FAA and COAs that are required to fly a drone as a first responder. Since then, we've had really good success with deploying the drone in the field, and we are now asking for a consideration of a 5-year contract, which would give us 2 additional docks and 2 additional drones. That would bring the total to 3 docks and 4 drones. The first drone would remain at the police department. The second drone would be placed at Fire Station 3 on Wilshire, and the third will be on Fire Station 5 on Gale. Attached is a map giving the general coverage for the average response of the drone. It would cover almost every square inch of the city, minus the area known as the base. That's a hard one to get to due to the airport being down there. There's a lot of flight restrictions for drones, so it's just not economical to place a dock and a drone down there. But we do have the 4th drone, which would be capable of being deployed anywhere in the field. This would be used for public safety events, our SWAT, narcotics, the UFO festival, fair, the races that are coming. The 5-year contract would be $496,000. It's broken out annually. They are giving us a discount for having a prolonged contract and prorating the current agreement that we already have. So we would use some of the funding that we've already pushed to help purchase the additional equipment. We were asking to make this purchase through the ambulance tax money or the public safety tax money. The fire department has agreed and sees a use in it as well. We're asking to sign the 5-year contract.
Questions from committee?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
so was this put out to bid or was it put out for consideration with any other companies for, because that is actually it's a hefty price tag for that.
So the first drone that we purchased off a sole source letter. We did do a demo with another company. We weren't as pleased with them as we are with Paladin. Since we've seen the results with Paladin, we do believe Paladin's the best one. So we still have the sole source letter. We can go out for additional bids, but seeing what Paladin has provided, we think Paladin is the best.
And you said this was public safety tax,
Yes, that would be where we would pull the money year after year from.
and is it, I'm sorry, you have the contract, you have the amounts here, thank you.
Because that concerns me, you're not going out to bid. Because I know you're using a DJI.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm guessing they're special DJIs. They're not.
It's the add-on on top of it. It's called the EXT, and that's what allows the drone to be connected with cellular. So we can literally fly this thing in Albuquerque sitting in the house. When we did the testing and some of the demo, we were flying drones in Houston, Texas at the police department because of the cell phone connectivity, which gives us a much greater coverage than what would be with the RC controller.
But these aren't the DJI. You can just go buy like Costco or something.
They are available. The model is a little bit higher than a Costco brand, but yes, the DJIs can be purchased through other places. Paladin has a contract and agreement with DJI, giving them the best prices. So that kind of helps with us, but the sole source is the software and the EXT that allows it to connect to the cell service, and then the software and the platform that we use to fly the drone, track the drone, and then also, like I said, providing the code and the FAA paperwork.
It may pass here, but if it goes to full council, I think we're gonna have problems in finance, you're gonna go to finance, not getting another quote. Yeah,
Madam Chair,
yes.
so on these each year, is this basically a payment plan, I suppose?
Yes.
Okay, it's not for service or anything, it's just paying off the 400, the close to 500,000.
Yes. That's just the broken out different payments. And the first year is a little bit more for the docks and the drones and lights. So we're basically, based off the contract they provided, it's basically giving us one dock and drone for free based on the agreement that we've already paid for.
And so what is this, I mean, I did read this, but can you advise on specifically what each of these years or the 98,000 actually covers? Or-
That covers a warranty, it covers maintenance and repairs, so batteries, propellers, anything happens to the drone. If we were happening to fly it in weather like this today and it crashed, we make a phone call and then they'll replace it under the warranty and insurance. It covers the EXT, which is the sole source device that connects it to the cell service, and then the platform, the website that we use to actually fly the drone. It tracks all of our flights, it records all the videos for us, and then allows us to convert it into evidence.
They store the video information as well?
Yes.
That's, I understand that usually storage of information like that is actually pretty expensive. Okay.
Yeah. So it records anything, it's a unlimited data storage for the clouds for the video, and then anything that we've deemed as evidence, and we have ways to retain it and actually categorize it as evidence.
Who's the cell service do?
We're using AT&T FirstNet. Again, we've had really good coverage. We've tested Verizon with it, but everything that we've done so far, AT&T's been the best.
You don't need Wi-Fi or anything, it just uploads it.
It's same SIM card as your cell phone, plugged into a little USB, plugged into that EXT that connects to the drone, and then the drone's off and running.
Does that include, does that include the cell service?
It does not include the cell service.
That's a lot of data that's gonna,
It's minimal. It's, I think, $37 a device.
oh, okay.
So that's not much of an issue.
Any more questions? Anybody in the public?
What service do they provide?
So,
They provide a service, but I'm naive, just trying to clarify.
to be able to fly the drone as a first responder outside the normal FAA regulations, you have to have a beyond the visual line of sight waiver. And so they prepare all that documents, submit all that document to the FAA.
No, I understand that, but what are you going to use the drones for?
Oh, we use it for the SWAT, we use it for narcotics investigations, for general calls for service. If there's a shooting or a stabbing, we can send the drone in first, get an overlay of the view of the scene. If there's a structure fire, they can fly the drone over and around the structure fire. We've had the barricaded subject. We had the drone in the air for an hour and 47 minutes, going back and forth, changing out the batteries, and just having a good aerial view. We've had 2 vehicle pursuits. I'm hoping that it could potentially lower the liability, because in both the vehicle pursuits, it showed we did exactly what we should have done, that people weren't chasing and we shouldn't have been chasing. We're able to follow the guy, just like you've ever seen on Cops with the helicopter. We did that for a few minutes, and then when it got to a residential area, you can surround and call out once he gets to the house. So the uses of it is really limited to your imagination.
The fire department can use it.
Yes, so we've used it a couple times for grass fires. You can get the good overview from 400 feet in the air to really see where some of the hot spots are. All of them are equipped with thermals so that they'll have that capability. I know we've flown it over for the after a fire to see some of the hot spots on the roof of that 2-story apartment complex. And we've even helped IT fly in the drone already too.
Any more questions? Yeah, entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I will say, I'm not really educated on finances, so I really would like the finance committee to take a look at that. But I will make a motion. We'll get it there. Madam Chair, I'd like to recommend I'd like to recommend approval of a 5-year contract with Paladine Drones to be sent to the finance committee.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Council Moore?
Counselor Moore?
We still have a quorum, right?
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is consider recommending authorization for approval to issue a purchase order in the amount of $262,650 for the purchase of 3 SCBA compressors for emergency service. Chief Chavez.
Members, we're just asking for consideration for recommending authorization for approval to issue a purchase order in the amount of $262,661.55 for the purchases of 3 SCBA compressors from MES. These, the funding source for this would be from the State Fire Marshal's grant that we've already received. And so we're just asking permission to move forward with the PO and purchase these compressors. At this time, I stand for question.
Are these state of the art?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if this had to go to finance or it's already been approved, it would have to go to finance. Yes. Make a motion, consider recommending authorization for approval to issue a purchase order in the amount of $262,661.55 for purchase of 3 SCBA compressors from Municipal Emergency Service to go to finance.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Moore, you on yet? Okay, still passes, thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is considering, recommending authorization to issue a purchase order in the amount of $740,000 and $30, whatever. The purchase of 1 Class A HME pumper for municipal emergency services. That's your school. Chief Chavez.
So again, we're just considering recommending authorization for approval to issue a purchase order in the amount of $740,030 for the purchase of 1 Class A HME pumper from Municipal Emergency Services. During the floods, we lost 4 of our pumpers. This would be to replace the 3rd pumper that need to replace. This funding would come from the insurance fund. The money's in place, and we're just asking for approval to purchase the 3rd pumper. This would also get us out of the 2 loaner trucks that we're in. Currently, we're borrowing a truck from Albuquerque Fire and one from Grants Fire. They're currently running as front line pumpers for us, and we would like to get out of those trucks and back into our own. And this would be the purchase that would put us in that direction. So it's my discussion.
How long will it take you to get?
This truck, I think 45 days is what they have told us, 45 days out.
Any additional questions? Take a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to recommend authorization for approval to issue a purchase order in the amount of $740,030 for the purchase of 1 Class A pumper from Municipal Emergency Services to go to finance and be added to the consent agenda.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Is there any way that we can actually amend number 4 to be added? Is it, we can amend it on the, because it could probably go to the consent.
I'm not telling what the finance committee will do, but I'm sure the finance committee will consider putting it on the consent agenda at that time too,
Perfect.
if that's okay.
Are you back, Ms. Moore?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Did you want to vote on the last item, the 5?
Oh, I said yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The next regular item is consider recommending approval to issue a purchase order in the amount of $357,340.88 to Howe Medical for the purchase of 8 new LifePak 35 cardiac monitor. Is that you two?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chair, committee members, we're asking that you recommend approval to issue a purchase order in the amount of $357,340.88 to Howe Medical for the purchase of 8 new LifePak 35 cardiac monitors. In the flood, we lost 3 of our monitors and some of the trucks that got flooded out. So we went out to purchase additional LifePak. We went with LifePak. We had Zoll's, but LifePak could get a better deal for us, and we could get them in a little bit faster return. So we went with the LifePak model. Now what we're trying to do is make our frontline pumpers all uniform with the same monitors. This would put us in line with I believe AMR also carries the LifePak, so we would all be a uniform delivery service. So we're looking to purchase these 8. This would come from the 2310 public safety tax to purchase those and moving forward with the ambulance service. These would be monitors that we can use right now on the pumpers, and then when we took over the ambulance service, they'd be available for that service as well. So this would just be a move in that direction. The monitors that we currently need to replace the dilapidated ones that we have, I think they're 10 years. Our Zolls, they were refurbished from the bottom, and so it's just time to replace those and move just like in that direction with those with these new LifePak. So, questions.
Madam Chair, Mr. Cole, if I may ask you a question. This is the second time I've heard the public safety tax being utilized to purchase things, and I'm not necessarily a graduate of finance. So how is the public safety tax set up? Because I believe that when we voted to pass that, the purpose was to create our own ambulance service. How are we to do that? Continue to feed it. So is there something set up, or what is the goal and where are we headed with that? Because we'll never actually reach the goal if we continue to utilize it for things that are very warranted and very needed.
Yeah, and as Chief mentions, those LifePaks are compatible with what's used on the ambulance service. And so Plan B is to set up our own ambulance service as with the ordinance and the funding source.
Would our ambulance service have the LifePak as well? Because the thing is AMR. So that, I understand what you're saying, but I think that we were all a little, that was one of the fears, is that it would actually start to be picked at because it is funding and because your LifePaks are needed. Everything that, even the drones are absolutely a necessity. I see the value in those. But I also remember voting and telling the public that this was going to be for an ambulance service.
I think, if I may, I think what he's saying is these LifePaks would work in the ambulance service that we are going to create.
That's true.
Well,
Yeah, I know what you're saying though.
that being said, I understand, but we don't have those ambulances yet, and we won't necessarily get those ambulances if we're depleting the fund. And like, my name is on the vote that I made telling the public that that's what we were going to do with that fund and that tax. So I please do not think in any way am I actually saying what you're asking for does not have merit. I'm just expressing my concern to ensure that we actually do utilize our public's funds specifically.
You're absolutely right, Counselor. People are already coming out of the woodwork trying to get into those funds or would like to get onto those funds.
Yeah.
My priority for fire and the chief at this point is readiness. You hear a lot in military talk, but we need to be ready to respond to a fire. We need to have a ladder truck. We need to have our pumpers replaced. So that's the priority right now. And as you know, we've been pretty wiped out in terms of our funding by the floods. So appreciate him coordinating this so that those are all uniform across what AMR uses and what we'll be using as well.
Is there any interest that's gained off that public safety tax? Interest on the funds? There's like, what, 3 million in there?
More than that.
3?
Yeah, there's almost 4 million. I think we can accrue interest on that. It's not federal funds, so we should be able to. I'll find out the answer to that question.
The reason I say that is because what I would be comfortable with is a structured, like I do at my house. This part is untouchable and this part goes over here and we continuously build that. But this part, say 25% of it can be utilized for things such as this. That way we have a limit here, but we're still meeting the goals to the public. I know my home budget, but, to me, that's how I do it so that we could actually meet all the needs and have it, organized so that, yes, this is continuing to build. It may take us another year because we needed drones, because we need life packs. But this portion over here is specifically to help get the equipment for that. And I don't know if we have it set up like that, but I think that having monitored responsible spending of it is actually a good way for us to let the public know, yes, we're trying to meet the goal that we promised to you. And in the same sense, we're also meeting the public safety needs with these funds. That's my thought. Thank you.
Any more questions? Yes, sir.
What happens to the old one? The old units that you said are being phased out.
We're looking at a trade-in, a buyback program, maybe to see if we can do that with them. We do sometimes take some borrow, will give us a reduction in the price, so we're looking pretty good at that. Saving about $3 is what they're doing. And just to touch back on the resolution itself has a $3 million cap that we can't touch. So I think in that was placed in there that it's got to have at all times $3 million in that fund. And so we're just asking for the life packs to come out of the amount that's already accrued over that $3 million.
So, Mr. Matthews, how much would it actually cost us to get these ambulances? I mean, what are we looking at? How much are the ambulances going to cost us?
I couldn't answer that. I believe our gentleman back here in the back could answer that.
Yeah, Mr. Fuller,
Yeah,
you
Madam
can-
Chair, members of the committee, if I may. We're working to revamp some numbers. It's been a while since we did it. And so we're in the process of revamping. We had hopes of getting 4 of them, not to necessarily start the ambulance service with those, but they were some of the cheaper models that we could get. That did not go through, so we've lost out on that deal. So to get something equal to that's going to be an extra 33% on top of what we were just going to buy. And so I don't have an exact number. We've started working through the numbers again to create that presentation yet again.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has been a minute. It's been a long minute, unfortunately. So we're waiting on one last item, some revenue streams from a billing company. We're letting some professionals really step in and give us the most solid thing we get. We're waiting on that. After we get that, we're ready to have conversations, a seat at the table to say this is what we're hoping to do, and this is what it looks like financially for us to go. The true price of an ambulance, it varies. Depends on what we're.
Can you give me a rough, because I'm sorry, you did present that to us
Yeah.
about 2 to 3 times. What does like.
A type 1 right now, a type 1 unit, 4-wheel drive unit, $390,000, $400,000. You get type 3s, which are a little bit different. They don't come in 4-wheel drive, so you lose some functionality with them. They're closer to the $300,000 mark. So again, it just depends on we're going to build the plan to feel like what's best serves the citizens of Roswell and what we can utilize. And we're just waiting on one last piece, and then this new set of numbers will be ready we can sit down and talk and have a good conversation about what this really looks like for the city of Roswell. Because it's been, we had the ambulance was the ordinance was 2023, and so it's been a while. So we want to get the most accurate numbers moving forward. So we're hoping to have those hopefully by the end of the week.
Very good.
I'll add to that a little bit. We took those items off the finance agenda because we had a late bidder come in and brought us some other prices. And so the numbers that they gave us were purchasing 7 units for the same price that we were purchasing those 4 units. So we thought, I wanted to look into that a little bit more. So we pulled them off the agenda so I could look into that and get a clearer picture on that. And so we're exploring that now. We'd be ready to present something at finance, the next finance meeting think we have a proposal that's close enough that we can probably propose it at that next finance meeting. That's kind of what we're moving forward.
Well, thank you. That actually makes me feel very confident about 3 million. I think we could do we can actually do, I'm comfortable. Thank you very much.
Mr.
Nice.
Madam Chair, just so you know, I've asked the fire department to put together 2 plans. One, if it was emergency, if it was dropped in our lap today and we have to take it over tomorrow, we need a plan for that. And we need a plan for a systematic takeover of the ambulance service if the council chose to go that direction. So they're preparing 2 plans for us. And once those are ready, they'll be presenting them at appropriate committees.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any more questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I can make the motion, consider recommending approval to issue a purchase order amount of $357,340.88 to Howell Medical for the purchase of 8 new life packs, 35 cardiac monitors. Move it to finance.
Second,
You want it on the consent?
you want on the consent?
Yeah, let's put it on the consent.
I'll second the amendment, put it on the consent.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. First non-action item is our broken window program. I guess our guest couldn't come, but Councilor Arnold would like to discuss a little bit.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm actually very excited. This was something we brought up, in September, I think it was. Some of our businesses have had some serious issue with broken windows on Main Street. Homeless people, just people breaking their windows, and the replacement of them very expensive. And so a constituent actually presented this program that is operating in Albuquerque, and we kind of talked about seeing what the city could do to help. Since then, I've spoken with the EDC. They have a business area, and they are looking into it. Miss Perry was going to speak today and kind of present some ideas, but she's kind of had issues getting the information. But I at least wanted to know that this is still alive and that we are still working on it, working and collaborating with the community to try to create a solution because our businesses are actually being hit pretty hard along Main Street and in other areas with broken windows. So thank you.
Okay, we're down to department reports, police. Smith, I'm sorry. Deputy Chief Smith, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Everything currently is going as normal. I don't have anything. We've got, right now we're 11 down. We've got one that's resigned that's going to Artesia. We've got 2 that are going to go on light duty as pregnancies. So we're going to use them. We've tried to help out our dispatch center as best as we can because of their shortages. Placing them over there, built on that. We're still waiting on answers on our building. You know, funding would be a possibility to, start repairs on that. Other than that, it's just business as usual.
I did go on a ride along Friday. Your officers were great. And the morale there isn't great because of the building situation, so.
Well, in all actuality, for the way it stands, the morale is actually not.
Well, no, it wasn't bad. I just got.
And I would, you would expect, the expectation would be that you would start getting people after an extended period of time, that they would start just kind of getting ho-hum. And that really really good morale. Everybody's understanding. Everybody's appreciative of exactly, what's going on, and they're doing their job well. And so, like I said, we're standing in wait, trying to get that repaired.
They were all professional and they were all, made me feel old. They didn't make me feel old. I just realized I'm old. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Sir, I have 2 questions. First off, as far as the building is concerned, and we're talking about repairs or replacement, because I've always been a big proponent of figuring out ways to address how to replace our police building because it's been I think since we've been in, it's flooded like 3 or 4 times.
At least 2 maybe. One prior to was an internal plumbing issue that caused major flooding issues. And then, of course, the rain flood. That was the most catastrophic part of it.
And I know we've had it tested and everything, so it's not a safety so much an issue as just something that I think we could be mindful of so we can start planning for, even if it's 5 years down the road, thoughts on, and I think Chief Bateman has had some ideas on replacing that, where to
On
put
a
it.
new facility. So he has had new ideas ever since his inception as a chief.
Mhm.
He came in and was one of his designs was to try and focus on that. So him and I have traveled to Santa Fe and viewed one of the new state police buildings over there just to get an idea of cost. Of course, cost difference between Santa Fe and Roswell are huge. So in doing that, we observed what they had built. It was tremendously smaller than what we would need because it's just a substation in Santa Fe. We did reach out to the architect that did that. They were definitely up for doing a pre-drawing perception, or I don't remember exactly the term, but it's a pre-drawing to get an idea. It was at that point in time, we were looking at about $80,000. We weren't able to fund it ourselves. And so that's kind of been put on standstill for the moment, just so that we could have, until we could get the funding, because we just didn't have the funding within our budget at the moment to pay for that architectural drawing. As we stand currently, I mean, the only thing that we have is what we have. So we have to try and make it the best we can. And the repairs is the only thing that we have as a viable option right now. And you've been there, the majority of the councilors have been there and seen the extent of that. We know that it's a huge undertaking as far as the price tag. The last bid that I was aware of was probably, I would say, 8 to 9 months ago. It may have been a little bit further than that, but no, it wouldn't have been 8 to 9 months. It would have been about 6 months ago, right after they got done with the remediation of everything. It was about $680,000. We know that that's a huge hit to the city's budget. So we have opted to do it in phases. And so I know MAC has been working on that, but we're just working or waiting on the process of either insurance funding or how that funding is. So at this current time, we're still just kind of expensive.
Well, my second is more of a statement. I think that there's been work with the fire department and the police department on looking to create competitive wages for our police officers and our firemen. Some very solid moves were made by the fire department last year. I would like to say that I really do hope that you guys present something to, because we're fixing to be in budget talks, and I recognize our finances are a little bit stretched with where we are. But in my opinion, officers, keeping and maintaining our officers and giving them a reason to stay here is imperative. We have to create the next set of administrators, and I think we're running low as far as those are moving to other areas where it's more competitive. And I believe from what I've seen that paying our officers a competitive wage that it is actually instrumental in us continuing our work here in the city. And so I just am kind of saying, I do hope that you have a plan or present a plan budget wise. And just letting you know, I'm a big supporter of helping officers.
And we have spoken of that. I know negotiations are going up with the POA union. I'm understanding, I haven't initiated yet, so I would assume that some type of a payment plan will probably be initiated through negotiations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. It's fire. Keep Kevin.
Madam Chair, members, fire department's been very busy. Obviously, the wind, we had just a little over 913 calls. 790 of those were EMS calls, and the remainder fire calls. We just currently did our hiring process. We sent 11 into the interview process, and we're going to end up with 6 going through the academy, and 1 that we're just going to roll into our what we call our driver task book lateral position. And so that'll help with one of our driver's positions. He was fully certified already in EMT and was a driver at some other departments, neighboring departments. So we went ahead and hired him on the lateral program. So that'll help with some of our.
We had one move here.
Yes, and so he'll be coming over soon. We're still going to be 6 short. The background checks kicked a few of our guys out, so we ended up having to start our academy with just the 6 in May at graduation. We're doing some pretty heavy recruiting throughout the high schools, the Dexter, Hagerman, Lake Arthur area, and then we'll try to recruit the next 6 to fill the remainder of our spots. We had a heavy promotion process, filled our command staff, got our lieutenant spots open and filled. Had a pretty good turnout with that. We ended up with 1 extra lieutenant that we have a list now. So one of our lieutenants will we promoted to 5 into those positions, and then we have 1 that's will be on the list for a year to come. So if any spots open up, we just roll right into it. What that did is it opened up some driver spots for us again, which was a current problem that we were having in the past. You mentioned our pay scale, which was huge and instrumental for us to be able to fill some of those spots. We appreciate that huge move for us. I don't see any problem filling those positions here in the next couple of months. We have a promotional driver's test coming up scheduled this month. So we should be able to fill most of those positions. What that'll do is leave us low on the bottom end, which is our firefighter position. But we hope to address that with this next recruiting campaign in May. So I think we're heading in the right direction. We have had some issues with some trucks that we had in the flood. Engine 5 is one of the trucks that's been giving us some issues. The mechanics had told us in the process early on that we would probably have these issues with engine 5, but we were just at a place where we had to put that truck in service. So we band-aided it, got it in working condition, went ahead and added it to the fleet, and it's been running. But since then, it's been in the shop 4 times already, 17 codes that it keeps throwing up. So the turbo went out in it because of one of those sensors. And so we're working with FEMA now to try to get that thing put back on the FEMA list. We met with them on Saturday for about 3 hours. We took them around to the training field, showed them all those trucks that were there. They took pictures of everything and are going to reach out again and try to see what other funding there is to help us in trying to find another engine. Other than that, we stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, appreciate it. AMR, Mr. Prescott.
Yes, thank you. First, I just want to let you know that AMR is still here. We're working running strong. Not planning on going anywhere. We've got our personnel still good. We're actively recruiting for paramedics. We just recently, even from the time I wrote this report, last week to now, we took 2 of the basics that we had that had finished their training, had tested and got their intermediate license. So they're working through the state to get that license. And we'll have 2 additional intermediates. So just make staffing on the trucks that much stronger with clinical skill. We did go to the NBC meeting this last on the 7th. We were granted still to continue with all of our special skills, finger thoracostomies and RSI and medications. Good accolades from the state medical director. on our achievements and the things that we're doing here on the ground EMS side, kind of leading the way in the state of New Mexico. Right here, and the people of Chavez County and Roswell will benefit from that. So, but other than that, things are kind of going on as normal. Call volume is, as Chief Chavez said, right there in the 800, which is about par for what we normally run on a monthly basis. But right now, that's kind of going real well. I did give you guys, I passed out a thing I just wanted to talk about on a regular basis, and it kind of goes along some of what Steve Chavez was talking about with the cardiac monitors and seeing those EKGs. We did have a team go out. This was just yesterday. This is the report that we get from the hospital each time that we take in a STEMI patient, which is a cardiac arrest, is what everyone would recognize. And this pictures in here just kind of indicate what it looks like, what a clot looks like. They're on the left side of the heart, and then after they do the PCI procedure, then open that up, put stents in. You can see on the right side where that's back opened up, and then there's total perfusion to that. So that person will come out of that more than likely with full recovery. And then just to brag on the hospital, EMS and all those aside, 43 minutes from the time that patient hit the door to the time that balloon was activated inside their heart and opened up that up. So, and then the call time was like 21 minutes from the time the call was received to the time they had that person at the hospital. So, kudos, and that's the fire department, everybody involved to get to those folks and get the procedures back to the hospital quickly. So, but that's really all I have. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm looking at code frequency.
Yes, sir.
And you had 436 responses out in the city, 53 responses in the county. But I go back to your total summary where you had 805 responses. How many of those were county responses?
So out of the 805, that's kind of a bulk number to all of those calls. So the county call, that kind of gets lumped into that one service number on the last page. That's the 805. That's all. So when we go back to that other number, 436, that's been calculated down. That actually takes out those EMS only calls that we put in there. And that's where where it drops that down to that 86% compliance time. So that 53 is really kind of more of the total responses to the county. However, some of those numbers get kind of obscured when we look at those things because the way it goes into the PSAT system, the way it goes over to our system, where it's managed that way, some of those county addresses still pop up as possible. Just like if you go out with, so how some of the people around the county, the address might be Dexter if they're out further south, but if they're closer to the city, then it's Roswell, and just it kind of depends on where it lays out.
So we do not know how many true county calls you're making. My point is trying to see how many of these calls are generated within the city, how many are generated in the county. Because we have a sharing agreement on this.
That's correct.
And I think it's time that these numbers be looked at very hard to where the services are being performed and who's paying for those services.
I can't get further in-depth data on that.
I think I would ask the chair if you would have that report, if we could look at it on a 12-month basis.
Absolutely.
There's going to be a point in time where there's going to be a negotiation with the county because the city's been paying for all this.
We need that for
It's
animal,
budgets.
Yeah, correct.
we need it for animal services too. No?
Mr. Hildebrand, if I may, in 2023, 17% of our calls were in the county.
17% of yours are in the county.
Right.
And there's no compensation back to the city for those calls.
Small amount,
Small
$20,000.
How much?
What?
$20,000 is what we billed the county in the past.
Sorry.
For rescue services, it's
For
called.
rescue, $20,000.
$20,000. It's been that way
It's been that way since I
decades.
left.
Oh, no.
It's time things change.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's whether it's one call or
100%.
So what do you think each call is costing us?
A lot more than that. I don't, it'd be hard to break it down. You could break it down.
It's a good discussion item.
I think this is more important. We are making the citizens of the city of Roswell are carrying the load for the county government. And it's time and it needs to stop.
Yeah.
Animal control is the same way.
Yes.
Everybody needs to pay their share. Not asking to pay more or less, pay your share. think it's very important, Mr. Coleman, that we have these numbers ready to talk to the county when it's time to be talking about this being done. Because I hate to tell the fire department, stop at the county line.
Yep.
Stop. Pay more. Stop at the county lines. But we're not gonna do that. But they need to be paying for the citizens in the county. I strongly believe that the city of Roswell is carrying their load and it's time to stop. Thank you.
How much are we getting for animal services, like 15?
15 right now.
Because we are, okay, at that, I can't believe we're getting 20. Well, we're getting 50, and what was it, 10? It was at 10 like a couple years ago. And
Well,
we
it
had
was
to fight.
nothing for ever. It was just a few years ago that we got 15,
I think this is something to stand on.
just a couple of years.
How many calls do you make to this county? You go to the county, though. You do make calls to the county.
We do, we back up, we do follow in the county if they request assistance because of shorthandedness. It's not a daily item or a weekly item, but we do still respond if necessary.
Thank you.
Your question? Thank you, Mr. Prescott. Next up is animal services.
Yes, thank you. So as many of you may know, we are closed for distemper exposure at the moment. So we're only allowing replanes and rescue to pull from us. We do have another facility right now where we're taking all new intakes and officers are running priority calls only. It's unknown right now to where we'll be able to get off of quarantine. We do have one dog there that's probably going to be there for another month. So we're trying to figure out that situation before we do start bringing other dogs in because he's considered exposed right now. And it's a court hold. Besides that, we're just kind of workers cleaning their butts off every day, deep cleaning, scrubbing, doing everything we can to try to get back to business.
I know you guys are working really hard over there and I appreciate it. All right, I know a lot of you are here for animal services, but we're gonna wait for public comment before we go into any of the discussion. Next up is emergency management, Ms. Sanders. Oh, did you want to say?
I brushed up. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
No, she has something. Of course, I'm so sorry. I'm a motor mouth today. Madam Chair, I did want to actually extend off of the, first off, thank the chair for setting up a meeting with the judge regarding our concern on citation, summons, and court. It's a great conversation. We did, in my personal view, I actually really do believe that our municipal judge is attempting to handle these cases as the law allows. I think that's why it was such a good meeting, is because we were able to see different aspects of how those cases are pushed through. The issue with getting, because some are deferred, some are dismissed. We also had Josh there with us, and so it was a good full round meeting. I think what we kind of discovered is that the community, we need to create a system for better educating the community on the laws, on the thing. I would have to say that again, I would really like to see more citations from the officers. I see the notices have been left, and I also understand the officers have discretion, but I think we could do more and do better. And I think, I don't know who recommended the program, but there was a concept or an idea that the public that has issues with animals actually have to take a class, either online or in person, on the basically how we as a community would like our animals to be treated, basically noting our laws and that type of stuff. I actually thought that was a really good concept, on kind of like if you I don't know, what do you have to take classes on if you,
Defensive driving.
Yeah.
okay, defensive driving, like if you actually get a summons and the judge actually, basically just requires you to take a defensive driving course. This is the same thing. It's actually how to treat our animals. And I think this is one of the best ways to actually, amongst other ideas, but get out there and educate people as they come in instead of just finding them. They could take a course, and we know that they know what we expect as far as our laws and the rules of, animal treatment.
So I know you mentioned earlier, I think it was code enforcement to get with the water department on putting something in billing.
Oh, the newsletter, yeah.
Yeah, is that something that we can look into, maybe for even like the tethering to get that out?
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. Actually, Councilman Helden Brent actually is the one that mentioned to me a newsletter that our water bill is the best way to contact people. And I think it was even on the animals that he mentioned that in the water bill, there should be a newsletter of policy updates, letting
Just animals, but
everything, animals, code enforcement, all of this. I think that is probably our cheapest and best way to get, because the bill already goes out. We wouldn't be actually sending out any new. Not everybody has Facebook, but as Councilman Hildenbrand said, most everybody gets a water bill. And I actually do read that, what comes in there, but so great idea.
Yeah,
Yes.
so reach out to the director of that department or to see.
So
how
that's a
we can
budget
get that.
line item. Yeah,
Oh,
it
okay.
needs to be budgeted
Okay.
in the budget. Yeah.
You can include everything that needs to be included on one sheet, they can all verify.
They could, and it could, I don't know what public relations budget looks like, but it is something that, public relations could work with everyone on, and I think that's a good area, but thank you, yes.
And then I would also like to add that we are under quarantine and priority calls only. The numbers are, for the citations and everything, are pretty much going to be the same next report.
I would not have thought of that. So, okay, I'm done. I'll stop.
Okay, Thomas Sanders.
I'll stop.
I really don't have too much to report. We're still on our pause with federal funding, so some of the projects that we have going with RPD for the True Crime Center, just got hold for a little bit. It's turning in information. I can be back on track pretty shortly, but really just business as usual, and happy to answer any questions.
You did?
No, I just appreciate all you do, and I know you've been,
Absolutely, thank you.
been killing it with all the FEMA stuff. All right, community development. Rachel.
I've been working on the weeds. I also reached out to PR, your Facebook post for us, and it's been working. You know, we've been getting a lot of good response, a lot of bad response, but that's how it goes. I've also talked to parts of Woody Chavez. They're taking care of they're doing their jobs out there, cutting the weeds down. And also with the speed department, they're gonna mow all those little thinner medians inside the base area. They are city property, so I have to go out there and clean those up, because those get a little bad. But we are trying to work with people on yards and complaints and screen them.
A lot of fences blowing down, a lot of garbage flying everywhere. Okay, next is consolidated dispatch. Who's this?
Members of the committee. So I usually come last, and one of you can give what they've already said, because we're kind of driven from what they do. But I want to take something that some of the other safety leaders said, kind of put it in perspective for us. So the police department's down 11 personnel. Fire department's down, I believe you said 11 and going to be 6. We're down 10 out of 23. So it is a severe type of problem. Now everybody's been supportive, and it's been amazing. So we have the temps that you allowed us to get. 4 of them are here and working. They came at the end of February, and it's working great so far. We've got 1 more coming. We've got 2 recruits that we've hired, but they're in the very beginning. It takes about 9 months to a year to train at this level all the way through. We've interviewed 5. There's 3 in background, and that's the police department. I got an email last night, I read it about 2 a.m. that they're gonna give us some help with their light duty, and I was like, this is just light from above. So, I can't stress enough how thankful we are for the support that we're getting from our public safety agencies, just coming in and saying, you guys, we're behind you, we're great. This, what you guys are doing is amazing. But I also want to mention, if you'll trickle this down to everybody, half my staff are either temporary or brand new. You're gonna have one experienced dispatcher per shift. So if you can just give us a little bit of grace, I would really, really appreciate it. Another thing I wanted to kind of mention to everybody is just a little bit of background on me. I retired from a service on the East Coast where we ran about 70,000 EMS calls a year. And then I moved to Texas where we covered 7 counties. It is harder to dispatch here than it was my previous agencies because this is a pretty busy place. And our dispatchers are responsible to do everything. Most agencies, they have this, it's their responsibility, this is their responsibility, here goes Ken. Sorry, ours do it all. So retention is not because the city of Roswell is not a good place to work. City of Roswell, it is a good place to work. It is just extremely difficult job. So I just want to kind of mention that. And as I said before, I'm the best. So we're working. All of our projects, they are in progress. I'm not going to say there's forward movement on anything but the radio project because that's our priority. But the equipment has been ordered and is on the way. And we're hanging in. And I stand for any questions.
Thanks for all you do. Any cancels temps that we stay on from it?
It has been done according to the service, and they allow that. They have a no recruit policy backwards from us. But if we recruit one of theirs, they're all for that. So if they like what they do, let's keep people.
She caused it.
Oh, yeah. All right, we'll open up for public discussion. Before we do, I'd like to put Mr. Walker on the spot and let him explain some of this distemper strain that's going around. Can you do a bit?
Do I have to stand up again?
No, you're fine.
Obviously, distemper is everywhere. It's been around forever, back in the 50s. In fact, the vaccines haven't changed since the 50s. They use one common strain, and what we're doing is seeing a bunch of variances off of it. We're trying to isolate it and basically have, I don't know, talks with Purdue, who runs the DNA sequencing, that the strain that we're seeing here is called American 3. And there is actually now an American 4.
American, what is it?
America 3.
Oh.
And there is actually an America 4. The reservoir it all traces back to fox and wild dog is basically where this thing goes. I got the DNA sequencing on 7 dogs. I took 5 from animal control and 2 that had come from animal control. The day that Friday before, I really realized that we had a pretty serious deal. We had got back 5 of those dogs that we had tested that day. A couple of them had been coughing. They'd all been treated, but basically had overcome it, basically, I thought. Every one of them came back positive with America 3. The 2 I tested in my clinic had come from animal control basically about 18 to 20 days before that, and then presented at the clinic. We tested those 2 dogs. One of those ended up euthanizing because of distemper. It did come back the same America 3. The next one came back positive, but is doing great and has no clinical signs as of today. That being said, I can go from my house in the county where we need services too, just to make it clear. The fox run, it's very seldom that I go at 4 o'clock in the morning to the gym and not see a fox running out of that, running back over across the street one way or another down through those alleys. It's there. And the wild dog population, well, I don't know how you keep it from being classified that way, but the dog I put to sleep a couple Sundays ago had never been to animal control. And it had full blown, probably the worst symptoms of distemper that I had seen. This dog couldn't even stand up. I mean, just you pick it up, you put it down, and that thing just collapsed. If I go to rest there, and you would see all the temporal muscle convulsions, the seizure. That dog had never seen animal control. It was picked up as a stray dog by what's the recycle center? What's that place called?
Wait camps.
No, not Wait Camps, the new place, right there as you turn on from Atkinson.
Atkinson and McGaffey.
Yeah, whatever that is, whatever that thing's called there. That's where the guy found that dog. And had actually taken it home and exposed his other dog. And then had taken it to get it spayed. It presented back in 8 days with a cough that they thought was just a tracheal cough, not showing any other signs. They put it on the same medication you guys are on. And that dog ended up being euthanized on that Sunday. So the vaccines that we're using, they haven't changed in 50 years. We've done, there's some modifications to them to try to make them safer for the dogs, but some of those don't become as efficient to reach some of those distemper problems. You guys use a good one. The recommendation from the Chaves County Veterinarian Association is that you should be vaccinating your dog regardless of if they're current or not with a modified live virus. And at this very time, that's what I think we're all telling all our clients at this time.
Once a year.
Once a year, not a 3-year deal, none of that. But essentially right now in the face of what we're dealing with, because of the exposure, you probably, even if you vaccinated your dog 3 months ago, the recommendation from Dr. Wilkes was that you better vaccinate all them dogs again, just to make sure. So I don't know how you stop it other than the fact that you got to vaccinate what we can. We got to get off the streets what we can. And beyond that, it's out of our control. And we got to look at what the big population is. I want to save every dog. I've tried to save every dog, and it can't happen. But those dogs that are running those streets are the ones that are going to expose you guys' dog when you guys are out working on fire department call. And that's not right. So the big picture, we have to do some control. We have to. That's where I am. I think that's where Dr. Wilkes is. Dr. Gutierrez is here. Dr. Gutierrez, you got anything to add?
Well, I wasn't very excited about this. I believe in the vaccine. I agree that, okay, maybe 3 years isn't enough and once a year is fine. But I saw for my first time yesterday a pet dog, backyard dog, hadn't been anywhere, hadn't been vaccinated in a few years, but it had all the clinical symptoms. Was never stray, just had strays going along in the alley, spreading it around. And that dog had it, we euthanized it.
Did you mention, Shailene, you heard there were skunks in the community?
Yeah, we've had a few calls about skunks that were out during the day, acting erratically, and then one of our officers went and dispatched them.
Probably a different disease process. But that being said, did they test them?
No,
Why?
no, the officer discarded them and then came back and we were informed.
I think the only way that we're going to get to the bottom of it, we got to start testing some of this stuff. We do. There's no doubt. I lived through the first distemper nightmare, and everything we had to do there. And I don't know that I think we've learned from it, but I also think that the variances to those viruses are such that you just don't know. And safety wise, public safety wise, we need to stop it. We need to. They're having an outbreak in Texas right now. They're in the middle of one. In fact, I got some literature from Tennessee. Same kind of deal. Those were a Mexican version that looked more like measles than anything, but they're still fighting some of that stuff. It's out there. I mean, I'm just going to tell you. And I don't know how you vaccinate everything or know that everything's clean before you bring them into your facility, but that is animal control's job. Whatever we got to do there to try to get a hand on it. Dr. Wilkes says, well, I don't envy you today. I don't envy me every day with something like this, because the bottom line is that I gotta sleep at night and thinking that I could ride it with the same guys that you rode around with on the PD, and I see more dogs running through neighborhoods than I see people. There is a problem, and it's not an animal control problem. It is a pet owner problem. And we have to educate those people. We have to. And make them accountable. Make them accountable.
That's why we've been meeting with Josh and the judge, where Chantel's tired of me telling her.
Right.
I just want this group of people to know, I've been going into animal control. I got the code to it, and I've been going in there for years. I mean, since the first outbreak. I just walk in unannounced, punch in my code, and everybody looks at me silly as I walk through, and they want to know what I'm doing. I just am going back there. Well, we'll show you this one first. Nope, I want to go back there first. If you're going to show me one, I'm going to look around. Is what I'm going to do. I've been there I go there frequently. But the last 3 months, I guess, maybe, I went down there. We had a meeting down there one time. Since that meeting, that place is as clean as I've ever seen it. And for the last however many times, they've never audited those dogs 3 times a day like you're doing. They couldn't tell you if the dog was coughing, how long it had been there, whatever that. They couldn't do anything. These people care. And we need to protect these people.
I agree.
They're the ones getting the threats. I mean, for real, what are you going to do to me? I don't care. I don't work for the city. I owe you nothing. But these people are getting threats that is unaccounted for. I mean, are way beyond what they should be putting up with. So I'm here to back you.
Thank you.
That's what I'm going to do.
Thank you.
Well, I think the recommendation is, the problem is complex but finite, and that is we have a distemper problem. Our job is to vaccinate the dogs and get the word out there they need to be vaccinated. We have our own reminder systems. We just updated them. It went from 3 years to 1 year. And if your dog hasn't been vaccinated within the year, get it vaccinated. If we need to get it in the water bill, let's do that. Yeah, we've discussed the vaccine clinic. We've had some good ideas as to make that happen, because in the past we used to do a rabies clinic. Some of you are old enough to remember those. Those started in the 60s and they continued until COVID. They went away. But at that point, we weren't that concerned about contaminating other animals. Now with distemper, we don't want a line of dogs out there waiting in line. So we have to come up with a different method, but we're moving towards something like that that will help the pets in the community to at least get the owned dogs safe.
I do want to add, I've been working with both of you, and I'm just so grateful that we have experts like you guys and professionals that.
Not an expert. I don't want to be an expert at this film. That's a forced
You're
event.
professional though. You know a lot more than I do, and I really.
But we try to do what's right we work for the dogs. We work for the cats. We don't care what people think.
Yeah.
Those are what we work for. However, this is a public safety event, and your community is going to suffer when they start losing their dogs. It's a sad event. It's a sad event.
What is the effect on pet owners? What is the effect on human?
As far as the virus itself?
As far as the distemper, yeah.
Nothing.
Okay, so there's.
Except for that little old man that brought in his dog that put to sleep and brought a second dog in crying his eyes out.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's not a public health.
The emotional part.
Yeah, the emotional part, but health-wise,
It's not.
there's
Doesn't create any kind of transfer of any sort.
no. The bird flu is on its way to being
And you get the other side where the people just dump their dog because he's sick and they don't care.
Can I just say, as something?
Well, hold on, before we get into public safety, do you have anything to add?
Not right now.
So when we go into the public, you guys talk, we need your name and your address.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to ask a question.
You're fine. No,
That's a question.
yeah, we need your name and address when you guys ask any questions. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Erin Aceto. And, well, I just had a question on that. Oh, my address, 2500 North Michigan Avenue.
Thanks.
Sorry.
That's right.
What about like these events? What about the alien, the 4th of July, all these events where people come and visit with their animals?
Be concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Discourage public animals.
I mean, and the air shows and all that, that's
Can I just, say, so is it our turn or?
You know,
Okay, I'm just gonna, say, give you some information that Laura gave to me. And, I do a lot of rescue and fostering. I've actually experienced 4 dogs. I've had to give their final ride to get put down because of distemper. This has been since June of last year. And, it's a horrible thing. I mean, it's horrible to watch each and every one of them, you know, it's just, but I just want, this is what Cora has given some numbers. And it's been, we've noticed it since June of last year. And we have started ordering full distemper, full respiratory panels, PCR tests from IDEX Labs. And we've been doing that since November of 2024. And the results of we have the results of a total of 176 tests.
Is every single one of those the full panel or just the quick?
Since November.
The full panel?
Yes, and I guess what I want to say is before we started doing them, you know, working with IDEX, we were going to College Garden and they were doing, I don't know what their tests, you know, were. I don't know exactly what they used for them, but it was costing a lot of money. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. So, okay, the panel tests, what the panel tests for are distemper. They're able to distinguish with the IDEX whether or not it's from the vaccination, from getting vaccinated at when they get picked up at animal services. Bordetella, sorry, adenovirus type 2, parainfluenza, canine respiratory and coronavirus, mycoplasma, and canine pneumovirus. It also tests for herpes virus, influenza A, strep zoo, and H3N2. We haven't had any positive tests for those. Of the 176 tests from November 24th to present, 101 of the 176 tests were all positive. And 37% of all the tests during that time period were positive for distemper. So they also had these other things, the mycoplasma, a whole slew of the other things. Yeah, they were just like a slew of everything. They testified for everything. So anyways, approximately 25 deaths in 4 pool dogs, as well as deaths reported from 4 rescue partners and adopters from Roswell Animal Services. And to date, Bora has spent over $26,000 on testing alone. And this doesn't include any of the hospitalization or anything like that. That's just what Bora has paid out in testing these dogs. Not including the boarding costs or anything like that, because they weren't able to go to rescue because they were sick. Just, you know, a lot. So that's all I think I have to say.
Can I answer some of that?
Sure.
First off, it's not their fault. These
I'm
dogs
not
are
saying
getting
it's
sick.
their
I know. But here's the thing, if they spend $26,000 on tests, why didn't they spend $26,000 on the vaccine clinic to prevent this out in the public in the first place? That's $26,000 on dogs that are probably gonna die anyways. But they could have spent it in preventing the disease out in the public. Go to the neighborhoods that, you know the dogs aren't getting vaccinated and get them vaccinated.
I mean, personally, I actually go and pick up.
Yeah, I know you do a lot.
And I will vaccinate anybody's dog with distemper. I mean, if they, I totally do that on a regular basis with my own money.
Yeah.
I go to Paul's and I buy them and I do what I can for people.
And I appreciate it.
I've
You do a
always said-
lot.
I've always said, it's not their fault. It's the people in this town, you know, it is their fault, but we've got to do something, you know, and unfortunately, we are only just a few. Look at, of all the people who hear bitching about it on, you know, social media and stuff, how many showed up today? Nobody, you you know?
That's fine, that's
I
fine,
know,
yeah.
I mean, it's frustrating.
That's been our big thing. They've been trying, and our marketing department's been trying, we're trying to educate the public.
I get it, I mean, I do, I do, but, you know, and I'm not, I do rescue of my own, and I do it for Fora, and I do it with other rescues, I just, you know, I'm only one person, we're just all only one person here, and we care, we care, and we want something, you know, I don't know, you know, that gets into budgets and all that stuff, way over my pay grade. Let's all do something, you know, let's work together, really, I think it's most important.
That's the key.
Okay, may I ask a question on that?
Name and address.
My name's Leah Hilton. I live at 519 South Chappaqua Avenue. And I had heard a couple months ago that there was a grant for a vaccination clinic, but that none of the vets in Roswell would do it. Is that not true?
I don't think
That what? None of the best.
That there were grants that have been issued to the city for a vaccination clinic.
Oh, she's talking about that spay neuter.
Spay neuter.
It's a low-class spay neuter, it wasn't vaccination. And that ran out of funds, we've actually applied for that again.
Right, yeah, I had heard that it was for vaccination, so I just wanted to get.
Vaccinations were required.
She may be talking about, I think it was Pet Love, that if we had a vet to administer the vaccines for us, because I guess it was the city can't.
Yeah, we
pay
had-
for that, then they would provide.
We have to be a
the-
vet to do rabies vaccines.
Right, so there was money for that, but then there wasn't a vet for it, or?
No, it was no money.
Oh, okay. Okay, and, yes.
I'd like to address what you're talking about, the owners. I've had conversation with Heavy Heston Humane Society. If you want to change this, you got to start early. I suggested you get with the RISD, create a program to put inside the school system to start educating the young adults or young people in this community how you're to be a respectful pet owner. That's where you're gonna have to go. That's not the city's responsibility. You know, it's kind of like CASA, when they go through the schools, they're doing their own thing. So if you guys want to be effective and make change, then you've got to get with the school system or somehow get into that younger age group and start affecting the change in behavior. It'll take a while, but I'm honest to believe that's where you got to go to get some change done, because you can have the young child ask mom, why do we keep the dog chained in the yard? That's not being a good pet owner. Why do you not take the dog to the vet ever? That's not being a good pet owner. Put the pressure on at that lower level. That's where you need to spend your time and effort, I believe.
Are you saying?
It's not here. It's not here.
Yeah.
The city's doing what we can do. Our animal control people are doing a good job. To the best that they have.
I'd like to respond, please.
Because but if you want to be effective, that's what you got to go do. Ask these guys.
Yeah, Nicole East, 5016 Apache Hills Drive. I'm getting a lot of negativity from some of the city leaders. I came in here with a wonderful, positive message. I wasn't going to blame anybody. I had nothing negative to say. And I've already heard people act as if we're here to get mad at you and yell at you. I haven't even spoken yet, and
I didn't say anything like
it's
that.
your responsibility to go change the culture of our society. I mean, I have a full-time job. I work for the Office of the State Engineer. I'm a professional. I don't do this for a living. Neither do you. So
I don't do this for a living either.
We want to work as a team.
Correct, and I'm giving you some
Volunteers
ideas
and-
of where to go
Yeah.
work.
How am I don't go to the schools. I don't have children in the schools. I can't develop a program to the schools. It's a great idea.
Let's think about it. Let's think about it. What if there's something through AHA? I remember how to brush my teeth by eating that little red pill.
Yeah, but I'm just
For
saying,
real.
it's not, I don't.
But maybe
that's
there's
not my
something that
skill
we
set.
can do through those other places that are not rescue groups or any other groups of education to try to bring that into the school. It'd be interesting to know if we could do
I'm
that.
here as a citizen, so I'm trying to receive what he's saying as a citizen, and I don't know how that's my response.
I've taken coloring books to my son's preschool with
They're out there.
community cat program with dogs, and it gives the parents information if they can read it to their kids and the kids coloring. So I've reach out like that with.
Nicole, I apologize. We didn't mean to be, I know you defended me on Facebook.
And I'm hearing like 3 people say it's not our fault, it's not, I'm like, gosh, I didn't even say anything about that. Thank you.
And I don't want to say in our defense, because it's not in our defense, but you've seen, I mean, I get people saying we need to work together, but then those people are the first to go on Facebook and just slam.
I understand.
And I know you were defending it. I
We're not
appreciate it.
here with that attitude, and we do have some points we want to share, so we can discuss.
Go ahead and finish it.
That's all. So if anyone doesn't know, my name's Nicole. I'm also a volunteer. I volunteer at the city shelter. I also coordinate with some of the rescue groups like Flora, Peace of Mind Rescue, Call. I also help bring people together so we can discuss issues, come up with solutions under the Support Roswell Animals groups. So I'm kind of just a jack of all trades trying to help the community in this area, but it's not my full-time job. It's not, I just volunteer to help in this area. I do want to say that I appreciate Chantel and Shaylin. They've been great to work with, honestly. I've been myself, my husband, and other friends have been volunteering at the shelter for over 2 years now. I feel like in the beginning, there was a little bit of like, we didn't know each other and but over time, we've gotten to know each other, and Chantel answers her phone every time I call her. I had a very nice conversation with her today. I had some questions. I didn't want to necessarily come to this meeting to ask everybody. I asked her the questions directly, and she gave me a very good answer. So I was happy with that. So I'm very pleased with the cooperation between volunteers and the city, and I just hope that we continue to build that. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Have you seen the improvements in the?
Absolutely. So I'm happy that the city approved for Best Friends to come. I know that was kind of stepping outside the box at the time. Approving the test for the community cat program. I know the council kind of pushed their limit a little bit, or some, they weren't sure, and they allowed it to give it a try. I'm grateful for that. When Best Friends came in, I saw a lot of positive changes because they had new ideas, they had resources, and they trained the staff on different things. After they left, I've seen that. I believe the funding has not been retained because Best Friends was paying for all this extra stuff. And then when they left, they did leave some money behind to kind of help for a little bit, but it ran out. I feel that, one of my main questions, and I'm just sharing my opinion. One of my main questions tonight is about long-term funding of the shelter. I know that the city says they're limited on funds, but I feel that with what the shelter's given fund-wise, they're doing a great job. They've tried to maintain a lot of the practices that Best Friends train them on. However, they don't really have a lot of extra funding, so they can only do so much. But I was there in January when Shaylin provided training on the cleaning. I feel that the cleaning practices improved. So yeah, we're doing a pretty good job over there. Despite, there's a distemper, we're calling it an outbreak. And, unfortunately, there's a lot of issues still that isn't really their fault. I personally don't think the building is really designed to carry a full load of dogs with several distemper cases that may come in. And you're right, it could be out in the community, but it did also come into the shelter. And I think that's what Erin's data shows, is that some of the dogs coming out of the shelter now haven't. They probably did spread it in the shelter. I don't think cleaning alone will get rid of it. I think the building itself is just not designed. They don't have a lot of quarantine spaces. It's airborne. I did want to ask if the city could consider a UV disinfectant system, because a lot of people have been asking about that. I don't know. I don't think every shelter does it, but there are other shelters that do it. I think you may have to move animals around to disinfect certain areas, so maybe a little bit. But I hear that these systems are cheap, like $500 or something. Like even someone could donate it, even for the puppy room, just to see, if you can get the disinfectant going in the puppy room and maybe move them out. I think that might be a benefit to prevent disease in the future. I do have a question about the funding though. My concern is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do understand that when Best Friends came in, they threw all this money out at the shelter, and it wasn't something that we could necessarily continue. And I know that the city never agreed to throwing out all this extra money with the program, so I can understand that. But I do understand that Ramon so myself and some of my friends were
meeting with him fairly regularly to, check out what was going on and everything. And he did express to me that, Best Friends created a budget for the next fiscal year. This was like in April, May 2024 when they were here. And they presented it with Mike Matthews. I'm not sure what happened. I wasn't there. But it sounded to me like, they were saying that the city should throw in like a huge more amount of money. Like it was a huge increase, which probably the city wasn't prepared for. So I understand, but I feel like it was probably rejected. And then that's one reason why I was disappointed when Best Friends left early. And I think it's because, they have to provide for their donors and people are donating money and they want to go to the cities where there's like the most progress made. And I feel like they didn't feel like Roswell was giving in the most good faith effort as far as not committing to the next fiscal year, adding hundreds of thousands of dollars. But one thing in particular that I'm concerned about is the community cat program. I don't think it costs that much to continue that program. And I'll tell you why is I know that the shelter is not intaking as many cats as they used to. They used to be euthanizing like 30 a week or something, and now they're not taking in very many. And I know when the community cat program are going on, they're basically TNVR, trap, neuter, vaccinating, release, about maybe 10 a week. It's a small number that the veterinarian was contracted for. Like once a week, they bring about 10 in. So because it's such a lesser number, so to euthanize a cat, it's, I don't know, $40 or $25 or something. To TNVR a cat, maybe it's like $20 more. It's not really that much more. And if you're only doing 10 cats a week versus euthanizing 40 a week, I mean, it's almost like asking for like $5,000 a year will cover the community cat program. So Chantel has mentioned to me, and I'm sorry, she may not know that I'm going to say this, but she did say that she would like to propose in this next fiscal year to include an amount for the community cat program. I hope that you will support that. I don't think it's going to be an extreme amount. But secondly, I would be interested in maybe the public working with the city to maybe get more grants, because I know we got grants in the past. And thirdly, even a fundraiser, there's fundraising opportunities. But lastly, the public is willing to donate to TNVR every single cat. And that's what's happening right now. The city doesn't have any more money for the community cat program until the next fiscal year. And right now we've communicated, and Call Clinic, which is planning to come every month, has agreed to spay and neuter every feral cat at the shelter, and the public is donating. And that's what's happening right now, is that people like us are paying for it. So I would hope at a minimum that the city would commit to us as volunteers that you please continue to let the Call Clinic fix the cats at the shelter if the public's paying for it, because there's really nothing out of your pocket, please. And even if it comes down to lack of resources, I told Chantel this, if it's like, oh, we don't have an officer to even take them over there, we have volunteers that can do that. We can go out and pick the cat up, take it to Call, bring it back to the shelter, and then it can be released. So we really want to work together, but I hope that maybe we can do a fundraiser, get a grant, or include like $10,000 more in the annual budget for next year to take care of that, because it was really, really hard to institute this community cat program. And now we have it. Best Friends taught us how to do this. It's there already. And so to me, it's taken a step backwards for us to just let it go and go back to catching and killing. We're so close, we're already there. So that was my main thought today, was the community cat program. And I know that somebody donated $5,000 in October-ish, and it went towards the program. So it kind of helped December, January-ish paying for those. So we're really grateful for the people giving donations. But, my husband wanted to know why. He says he drives to work in the morning and he hears on our radio channels, the Ruidoso, we're talking about community outreach. He's saying that the Ruidoso shelter has on the radio, spay and neuter and all this stuff. And so maybe that's another opportunity that, I don't know if it'd be free for the city of Roswell to include in their, morning news or whatever, that, information on even the ordinance changes, stuff like that, or spay and neuter. So I wonder if we can put some information on the radio.
So if I can, let me try. First of all, the building we don't have money to fix it. We have to work with what we have. The TNVR, it's hard to pay an extra cost because that's spending taxpayer dollars. And for me to go to a constituent and explain, well, I spent, $5,000 extra here, and I understand what you're saying, but to fix cats, well, you have to go pay to fix your own. That's hard to explain to the constituent. But I have seen the program working, but if we can get more grants and stuff, and I love Paul, they do so much for our community. And it's for the radio, we just went on Monday morning, and he offered for us to go on every month. So we already started that.
If I can add to the intakes on the cats have slowed down because we tell people that we don't have the funding. We're either waiting for donations or grants, and they don't want to bring the cat in just yet because they don't know what the chances are of it either.
And on that too,
getting funded.
Elizabeth has applied for more grants, so low cost spay neuter. We're also trying to get, again, we're just applying. I guarantee we're trying to get shelters for those people, other their dogs who can't. We're applying for grants.
I know exactly what you said about the dogs.
They're trying to get funding to pay for some kind of kennel. Outside kennels for the people that don't have fences, but they still tether their dogs and they can afford to pay a fence. You can put in a kennel that's designed for the size of dog they have. But again, we're applying for those grants, knock on wood.
And in response to, I understand your position to have to justify your constituents, but some of the constituents support it. So not everyone's going to tell you they don't want you.
Oh, I know. I know.
Some of us do that, and that's why we show up to the meeting, so that we can tell you that some people do care about that.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, I'm not saying I don't care. It's just hard to explain, especially when the city is in this financial situation we are.
And also, and I'm not criticizing, but I'm just kind of asking a question because I did watch the city council meeting from last Thursday, and I looked at the audit report and everything, and that looked kind of bad. I don't know what's going on with that, but there was a mention that the city doesn't have any internal auditors to catch any of these issues, and so we just kind of let all these things. I don't know that the city has provided the public a good response to that audit report as far as the issues that were involved in that came up in the
Sunday's paper.
Oh, it's in the
Yeah.
Sunday's paper?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I read that article, I think I know what the article you're talking about, and it didn't give very much information. It very
27 different audit findings, over 240 pages. There's a lot there.
It was bad,
The summary was pretty bad.
Well, so the way that relates to the animal shelter, I feel so in the past, I've heard that people donated to the shelter, but it went to the general fund and it never went to the shelter. I mean, this was a few years ago. Never happened?
Nope. If you donate something, if something's donated, there's a special donation account, and it goes right up there and it's put in that donation account, and that's all. And if you put it for the cat program, that's all it can be spent on. We can't go buy dog food with it. It has to be spent on what it was donated.
So is there a chart of accounts somewhere that we could go take a look at so we can see this?
We do have a chart of
State
it.
chart. Yeah, you can go to the state, DFA, Department of Finance.
Our friend here, Maret, her aunt sent a $500 donation last year from another state, and it sat in people's drawers for 6 months and ultimately got returned because Ramon told us that there was no way for it not to go to the general fund, and he didn't want the money to go. He wanted the person who donated it. Well, the $500 never went to the city. And
Who's Ramon?
Ramon, he was the project director. He was the manager at the animal shelter.
So he was managing at the time, so what he did.
Well, Chantel had it too. I'm not saying that, but
He was actually her supervisor.
well, what I'm saying is I made phone calls and I had called Ramon, I called the shelter, I think I called Mike Matthews, and everybody was like, oh, it never got cashed. And actually the first couple months we were just saying, can you cash it? Because you don't send a $500 check and it's not being cashed. People don't have a lot of money. So her aunt was saying, why hasn't it been cashed?
But that's when Ramon was here?
He was in charge of the shelter. So that's real simple. If you want to bring cash donations, bring them down here to sit
down here.
We'll make sure they get
Walk in the
them.
front door.
I have to correct one thing, I'm not trying to mean or anything, but that's not the shelter. We don't have any options like shelters do. We are public safety, it's animal control.
Take all comers.
They're calling it animal services now.
Yeah, animal services, animal control, but we aren't a shelter. The Humane Society is a shelter. They can say what dogs they take, what dogs they don't take.
So we don't fall under the standard of operating of shelter for the state?
Well, the license says shelter, but if you look at the name, it's animal services. I think the shelter license is the only license they provide animal control facilities.
Well, it was $500 that we were trying to get to the shelter and never got.
She got the money back though, right?
She
canceled the check.
Well, have her send it to you and you can bring it right down here. No, right in.
Oh, yeah, I was just bringing straight to City
She
Hall.
said she'd sent
We
another
won't try
one,
to-
but where? I was like.
Bring it to City Hall.
Have her send it to you.
But I think fairness, Ramon was new enough and transitioning and he might not have understood, or he might have gotten a faulty answer from accounting. But
Did
if
Mike
you-
Mathis answer your call? You talked to him? I did speak to him once. I don't know about that question.
So we try and field all the calls from all the out-of-towners and all the issues on a daily basis. And
Well,
get
we
a lot
wrote
of-
you a letter and you never responded,
I read it.
but you didn't respond.
You're right.
There is complaints that people are calling the city managements and nobody responds.
That's our point. Working together, it doesn't help to attack the veterinarians. We've seen that in the past.
Okay, I
It doesn't help to attack, Aura. That doesn't help.
No, I'm
It
never
doesn't
attacking. but you're-
help to attack the animal control
So if
facility. or the
someone has a
personnel.
criticism though, you guys won't respond. I've never criticized that way. But you're saying that nobody can have a criticism?
I didn't say that.
Well, you're saying if you attack someone as a response to why didn't you call someone back?
We were just talking about working together. I think that's the way to win. I
Yeah, I
don't think you
would.
win attacking each
Well, can
other.
we have a meeting outside of this meeting and sit down and talk about some of these things? That might be more effective than like 50 people calling and saying, we've never been able to set up a meeting.
We've met before.
Yeah.
We've met multiple times.
Yeah, even when I first became council.
Multiple times.
Jim Barres was in charge and we met him.
No, we've met in this room.
Okay, our meeting's running really long. Is there anything
But-
else that's pressing?
Yeah, I do. I get a ton of phone calls and I'm not making excuses, but if I get a phone call on my personal cell phone and that I get a stipend for, so it's my city phone that has an out-of-state area code, and I answer them, and there's somebody from Illinois is cussing me out, chewing me out because we're euthanizing animals at the animal shelter on a continuous basis because somebody posts my cell phone number out there. I'm going to be real careful about answering those phone calls. If it's a 50 or a 575 number, I'm going to answer it. If it's a 575 number, I'm going to return that phone call. If it's a 318 from Illinois or something, it'll go on my desk, and when I get time, I'll call it back. It's not a high priority. My citizens in this city are the priority. I'm going to return phone calls. If I've not returned a phone call from you, I apologize. Call me. I'll call you back. I return my phone calls. And it may be late at night.
It's not so much me. I mean, I've never called you and not gotten a return phone call, but other people are saying.
And that's what the out-of-town phone call says, is somebody told me.
The last thing I'll say, I just want to thank Dr. Walker, Dr. Gutierrez. For over 20 years, I've worked with Dr. Gutierrez. He was our contracted vet, provided the service, tried to have his head cut off. I supported him. I testified on his behalf, or were scheduled to, and not deserving at all. Dr. Walker came in and has offered his services free of charge, by the way, hasn't charged us a dime to do that. I gave him early on for the last outbreak. How long ago was that? 10 years ago?
Close.
Ask you to come anytime unannounced. Don't call me. Send your staff. And you sent your staff over there and do an inspection in time. And if you find something that we can do better, we want to know about it. We also want to know when we're doing good. And you've done that for 10 years now. Dr. Gutierrez has done that. So guys, I appreciate very much you even being here today to discuss this, because obviously to me, this is out in the community. We've got to try to address it from our point, what we can do here. I think one of the steps that we've taken, and I know it's hated by the rescue groups, is that putting a 15-day cap on animals at the shelter. We cannot fill that 72 cages up, packed every day, and have negative 10 cages in the garage, and not expect that we're not going to be spreading disease all over the place.
We also can't turn them loose, Mike.
Cannot, exactly. And
Which is what was going on.
that's what was going on. And I didn't want to bring it up, but Best Friends was brought up. I had the conversation with Ramona and they weren't, I got calls that they were not taking animals in. Animal control officers were seen releasing animals into the community, which we cannot do that. So I got Ramona in.
Complained to Ramon about that. I was attacked by a dog that he
Yeah.
wouldn't pick up.
But let me give you their explanation. One of the reasons they're not here anymore, or was it, that was cut short.
It wasn't the funding.
It wasn't the funding. They were cut short because we could not bend our thing, because they would, animal control officer would catch a dog, would get a call, aggressive dog, they catch that dog, they would scan it. They have to catch it to scan it, but had no microchip. They don't know where it came from. And then the officers were instructed to let it go. Now, if that dog goes and attacks somebody, yeah, by Ramon.
That happens.
So if that dog goes and attacks somebody, who's on the hook now? The city of Roswell is, because we allowed that dog that was in our possession, it's now our dog, to go out and attack somebody. Get your checkbook out, city, because you're gonna lose that one every day in court, and I'm not a lawyer. But, so that's why that.
We agreed to in the agreement.
That's not what we agreed to, so we mutually agreed. We're gonna cut it off right now because we will not accept that with our officers. And so that's why that was cut short.
Now, what about the dogs that are owner surrendered? So there doesn't need to be any type of stray hold on them. There are rescue groups that are willing to pick those dogs up in the field if they have to keep them out of the facility so they don't become exposed to the diseases that are there. Or mass euthanize, which happened just last week. I was at Roswell Animal Services when the dogs started coming in, and we were told that 18 of them were euthanized for aggression, but the 4 that I happened to see did not look aggressive at all. They were being carried by hands and not fighting. I know that Fora and other rescue groups would have been happy to pick those dogs up and rescue them.
We need to cut the meeting now, but leaving them in the field, there's no way to contain them. They're gonna be gone when the rescue goes.
Not leaving them.
So for owner surrenders, we do reach out. We tell them to reach out to rescue before they have to come into our facility. We have a resource paper that we hand out to them.
Fora had a couple of days to tag those dogs.
They did.
We reached out to them before we picked them up.
I invite anyone, Chantel and Shaylin, I'm sure they'd be happy to meet with you if you have a good question for them. Call Mike, like you said. But thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
DOT, state police. State police is on scene, it's monitoring. She really did answer.
I don't have a heart for that.